Hey, everybody. This is Dan from DansDocs. How y'all doing tonight? Um, first thing I wanted to do was apologize because usually we've been having a pretty good streak of making videos that come out on Fridays. But this week, things got a little bit overwhelming with work and everything else. So I did not get a chance to complete it on time. So I'm sorry for the few people who, look out for these and appreciate them. But it's just part of the reason is because this new topic we're doing is pretty in depth for this next video. It's about 50 minutes long from the audio that I've done. So yeah, it's a lot of work to do. It's about twice as much work as a normal 25-minute video. So anyway, I wanted to continue the streak I did have of doing videos on Friday nights, and I'm here doing this one for you guys. This is a live video, and I wanted to do some behind the scenes looks at how we make our videos at DansDocs. Um, Before I dive into that, the other thing too is that I just wanted to say that I am moving away from doing those AI voices that we started up a little while ago. I'm going back to doing my own voice, which is another reason this other video is taking longer than I wanted. It's a lot harder to edit when it's my voice versus just the steady broadcaster voice. I mean, it definitely really helped with the workflows of the videos, and it made it so we can push them out every week with the schedule. But I think at the point now, other people are using these AI voices for faceless videos, and it's just becoming saturated. So not only am I getting away from the AI, I'm going back to my own voice, which is it's also more work too because we have to record everything, we need to edit everything, so that's about 4 hours right there. So we are doing that more, and we're also going to start doing some on camera things as well, on camera narration. So that, there'll be times in the future videos where you'll be seeing the images and stuff, and then it can cut back to me in my little office here, which we're going to be doing some work as well to get it going a little bit better. Make this place look better with the lights, with the background. So that's all new things that are coming out. We'll probably start seeing that Monday, or not Monday. We're gonna be doing it for next week Friday's video, and then probably the following one you're gonna see everything will be all good. So yeah, I mean, we just did that with the Chinatown video that came out last week. Was my voice narrating it, and I got some positive feedback from you guys in the comments. So yeah, we're expanding away. I've been listening to you guys, hearing how you wanted me to bring my old voice back. So it is coming back. Um, it is extra work, so I'm just trying to get the handle of it, but I still want to try to keep my schedule of uploading on Fridays. All right. So it's instead of faceless videos, we're going to having videos with a host. And right now we're almost at 18,000 subscribers. It's been really wonderful how everybody's been very positive on here. A lot of people have been jumping on board. A lot of people appreciate the work that's been put into the videos. And I think it's time now for the videos to evolve. So yeah, we're going to be doing more on camera stuff with like a host rather than a faceless video. And we're also going to be having my narration instead of the AI guy, Tom, or on the other app he's called Daniel. All right. Yeah, so I just wanted to thank everybody who did subscribe so far. And everybody who's watching this video. And if you see this and you're somehow not a subscriber, please come by and check out the channel and subscribe because we got a lot of great stuff planned for 2026. All right. The topic this week was going to be about Greg Scarpa's FBI files from when he first became an informant in the 1960s. At that time, it was 1961 when he flipped. He actually, I believe he flipped before Joe Falaci flipped, and he gave the FBI a lot of intel about the mafia and who they were. But at the same time, he was kept secret. So a lot of people didn't realize that he was an FBI informant until the 1990s, which at that point it became an embarrassment for the Bureau because, here was this guy who was an informant who was, nicknamed the Grim Reaper, who was out there, committing killings and stuff. And the FBI just seemed to be, looking the other way from him. Um, let's see. Yeah. So anyway, getting back to what the video is, it's Scarpa's FBI files, and inside them, I think they're very different from other FBI files that I've read, because I think maybe he was like the first guy to actually flip to the government, and um, at that point he flipped to the government. He was the first guy, so they were filling a lot of stuff in, and a lot of it's just written as a narrative, like a story of the stuff he said, the information he's given them. It's very easy to follow. It's not like other FBI files I read, like Carlo Gambino, or when we made that Texarkana um, Phantom Killer documentary a couple years ago. It's not anything like those ones. It's those ones is like a lot of photocopies, a lot of things are repetitive, but the Greg Scarpa FBI files is it's very easy to follow. It's very linear, and it tells a story. And in that story, we see a perspective firsthand of the Gallo Profaci War, and we also see other stuff too. We see what happens after Profaci died and how Joe Magliacco was working behind the scenes to cut out Charles Lo Cicero from getting his power on the family too. So Lo Cicero, left after the death of Profaci. He was in Italy at the time, and Magliocco quickly rushed. He actually rushed two meetings of the capos instead of one, so that way he can isolate whatever opposition there could be. And he ended up getting the vote to become the boss of the family. Meanwhile, Charles Lo Siero was in Italy, and then when Lo Siero came back from Italy, he learned that Magliocco had become the boss a lot quicker than he thought, and then Lo Siero ended up he was working behind the scenes. He was in communication with the Gallo brothers, and he was just working to take out and take down Magliocco. And he was, doing stuff behind the scenes. He was bad mouthing him to the commission. He was, secretly working with Carlo Gambino to, undermine the guy. At the same time, he was working with Scarpa and Carmine Persico. Basically, staging, things for them to fight about, and then having a sit down with the boss, and then, encouraging one to not listen to the results of the sit down, so that way it could look like nobody's respecting Magliocco. So it's a really interesting, power play. And then the whole time in the back of these files too, you have Joe Colombo, who's actually quietly rising from the ranks. When Profaci died, Colombo was just a soldier, and it was actually Magliocco who promoted him to being a capo. And he was actually a very loyal guy in the family. And then under Magliocco, he was, Colombo was being told like, hey, if you got anything, you talk to Colombo. You talk to Colombo. You talk to Colombo. So he's becoming Magliocco's point guy. And then eventually, as you know, the story, which is not really in the FBI files, but the overall story is that Magliocco conspired. Magliocco didn't get a seat on the commission. The commission refused to acknowledge him to be the boss. So Magliocco ended up conspiring with Joe Bonanno. I think Joe Bonanno is considered the instigator of this. I'm not really sure where this full story comes from, because I haven't seen any FBI files yet where somebody informs on that. But the story is that they conspired together to murder the rest of the commission. Magliocco gave the contract to kill Carlo Gambino, Tommy Lucchese, and uh, was it Vito? Yeah, Vito Genovese, I think, was the boss back then, to kill them. And then instead, Colombo, went behind their backs. He went to Carlo Gambino and Lucchese, told them what was going on, and the conspiracy was basically quashed as soon as it was exposed. And Magliocco was forced to retire. And in those files, you get the whole perspective of Greg Scarpa, who's just I think he starts off as a capo, then he gets demoted to soldier once the new boss comes in, and you get his whole perspective of what was going on in those events. Hearing that, okay, there's a rumor that Magliocco is going to retire. He was hearing that from Lo Siero, who has been undermining Magliocco the whole time. And yeah, it's just really interesting. So that's what the new video is going to be about that. So I wanted to see, I have little notes here of what we're going to, talk about today. So yeah, I ended up finding that file when I was researching the Third Colombo War, which was a video that came out, I think, back in November maybe, or December. And as I was going through that, looking for the firsthand accounts of Scarpa during that time, I was like, oh my gosh, like, these first two files in here, like they're a gold mine of information. So yeah. So anyway, that's what I how I started, that video's process that's coming out. This one's probably coming out in about 2 weeks. But the beginning of the process was the research. It was, finding these files, reading them from front to back, and then going through them again, and then just, then I start writing in Microsoft Word. I wonder if it's possible I can show my screen. I can show my screen. Okay, let me go to let me go find the file. Don't see if this other file. All right, let's see if I could share the screen. All right, system settings. Screen and screen recordings. Sorry about this, everybody. I just got to. We had a couple people watching, and then we just lost them. Okay, let's see. Can I share the screen? Allow. Video is playing picture-in-picture mode. I don't think that's what I wanted to do. Back to tab. Share screen, allow. What is it doing? It's going to show everything. Screen and. Oh, maybe I did something. Let's see. May not be able to record the contents of your screen until it's quit. Let's just see something. Share a window or entire screen. Okay, I think maybe we have this now. Share this window. Okay, all right. So you can see here, this is the Word file that I use when I create these things. So I'm just dragging it over right now. So it's after the research, I sit down and I write it. Usually, I have the research next to me as well, so I can look up key events or go through it. And I usually stick to a pretty linear style of when I'm doing these things. So yeah, that's that. Let me see if I can do some other screen sharing. All right, stop sharing that one. Let's see. Share screen. Allow. All right. Oh, technical error. Well, all right. Here you have, these are the FBI files that I go through when I'm doing these things. You can get these off of the FBI Vault. All you have to do is just go on Google it, Google FBI Vault. They'll give you a search engine, and you can see a lot of these things. So you can see in the whole file now. This is Greg Scarpa's FBI file. You can see, he was considered heavy set. Back he was born in 1928, 210 pounds, 5'10". Informants considered reliable. Employment, all these things. You got the guy's record here for arrests. And you go through. You got different criminal associates. So you have up here. You have Charles Lociero, who was he was actually like a big guy in the Colombo family back in those days. He's largely forgotten now. And you can see he's got the top billing. Lo Sierra was there with Pravacci when he founded the family back in the 1920s. The guy has an arrest record that goes all the way back then. So he's over there. And then you could see down here, you got Carmine Persico Jr. So Lo Sierra was so big back then that he got top billing over Persico Jr., who later on became the boss of that family. So you can go through the other documents. They tell you all these things. Informant's not available for other areas. Informant's considered stable and reliable. All these things that just tell you all the information you need to know. Then they talk about how he became an informant. The relative importance of this with the gallows. So all this stuff is in here. So this is like a treasure trove of information. So when we're doing research on videos here, FBI files are generally a really great place for us to go. And the other thing I like about it too is that you have stuff like you can look at different books, and a lot of books are very well researched. But sometimes some of these books, depending on who wrote it, usually their source is just other books on the topic. So you don't really get many primary sources. You get a lot of secondary sources. You get a lot of people quoting and citing other people. But with the FBI files, you get these primary sources, and you get a lot of stories and things that people never really researched, never really talked about, and it's just these very obscure moments that are in there. So that's what I like doing with the FBI files. Yeah, you can even see we go through it again. There's some stuff that reprints. Yeah, you have names that are redacted, names that are redacted, and then so immediately he's talking about the Gallo War. It was an attempt to kill Joe Gallo. It was understand that Gallo was in the car when Joe Magnasco was killed. They thought it was Gallo. Gallo wasn't there. Magnasco saw their guns, and they just decided, hey, let's go get him. So yeah, that's one of the things we do is doing these FBI files. All right, getting to the next part of it. So like I said before, I after doing the files, I go and I write this. So this script you could see is 19 pages long, 7,196 words, and it came out to about 50 minutes after I recorded everything and cut it down. All right, so going to the next screen to show you what else we do. So, all right, after we go to edit, so you can see here, this is different images that we put in. So, you can even take a look at this one here. You can see that I have when I have the editing program, this is called the library. This is where all the stuff is. So we have all these different things. They all take up a lot of space. So you have one image. This is Joe Gallo over here. Let me see how this looks on the screen to you guys. All right, yeah, you can see the whole thing. James, sorry, my son wanted to sit in. So you got Joe Gallo over here, and then we would just take his thing, we drag it onto the timeline, and then that's that. And then when you go through this is what's called the timeline for editing. So as I go through it, I make marks on stuff that I realized, hey, I mispronounced something didn't quite sound right. And we go through later on, we're gonna resize all these things. One of the things I want to do is I gotta make some graphics for these things, so that way what we discuss kind of highlights in the file, makes it makes it more visually appealing. You have different images that we layer through it. So like something like this, these ones are on here right now. I have to go resize them, which is after I get through the whole thing of what I call it sequencing, when I get all the pictures on here. So you can see I got about 19 minutes in on a 50-minute video. So, we weren't anywhere close to getting it done today. So what we do is the next step would be, after having all these images here, would be to go through everything and then, change the sizes of them. Then, after that, sometimes we might add a little bit of movement to them. We might, do split screen stuff. Like that one's going to be where it was Lo Sierra and Joe Magliacco. So, I put those together after I got the whole thing sequenced. We resize, then we do some, color corrections. Sometimes, we make images look not as bright as before, so that way they blend in more with the older style photos. And after that, I'll go through the whole video, and then I will, then I got to go, replace audio that was bad where I mispronounced stuff, and then I got to go through the whole video again. Watch it. I got to go. A lot of the times too, the timing needs to be better. Add pauses between sentences and things. Otherwise, it's just talking very fast. So that's part of the process for it. Yeah, that's a large part of what's been happening in the videos lately. I can also show too. There's this one that I just showed right now with Lo Sierra and let me close this thing here, and Magliacco, from the Scarpa FBI files. That one is it's going to take a little bit longer because it's so long, and we're tweaking with the way we do these videos. So um the next thing I do, I'm going to show you this other video that I decided to make this week, which is going to come out later. Right now, it just has the audio, but this one is, because I've been focusing on the Profaci family in the original video. So this one is, basically the origins of the Colombo family. So we did I did a lot of research on it. A lot of things are not definite, so we got to piece it together, and we came up with the best way that the Colombo family operates, or how it came to be. So let me see if I can show that one now. There's window, sharing the entire screen. All right, so I'll go. You can hear. Okay, now I'll play the audio.
Joe Profaci and his underboss, Joe Wright, with the more powerful men feeling safe to recognize him as the new power in Brooklyn to fill Yale's vacuum. But that choice.
So, I mean, you can hear stuff like, I was reading it too slow. So there's things that need to be changed, re-recorded. So it's a little bit of a process. It's a new learning thing, but we are, I am, because it's just me here. Actually, I'm a one-man band. I am, changing up the format, and but this is how we make the videos typically. Maybe let me see something real quick too. This, and then I will go. Let's see, open a recent project. That. So. Allow this one here. I'm gonna share this. Yeah, this is the Chinatown video, so you can get a glimpse of how how it comes out. Well, right now, this means because I have my computer to the cloud, so this means that the stuff is still downloading for it. But you can see, here's a clip here.
Changing times contributed to the end of these conflicts, with many of the fighting men becoming old, and the newer generation being more interested in expanding business opportunities. As violence was bad for business, the fighting subsided. 1957.
So yeah, you can see that here. So this is how I do it. Have a little bit of gaps between everything, and that's how I fine tune the videos. But everything I do is done Adobe Premiere. And yeah, I guess we don't really have any questions in the chat. So on that note, I am gonna leave now. And like I said before, there'll be a new video out next week that's going to be about the origins of the Pravachi family. There'll be a new format for everything. It's going to be my voice narrating the videos now. We're stopping to use the AI as a tool. Just want to say too that the AI was only used for the text to voice, but that is going now. It's just there's too many people doing stuff with that. The whole we're also leaving the faceless video format because that's and we're going to more towards me, your creator, telling the stories like it is. So anyway, everybody who's watched this one, thank you so much, and hope you guys have a great Friday and that you're staying warm. And I'll talk to you guys later. If you need anything, always just message me in the comments. There's a couple of people watching now. Does anybody have something they want to ask in the chat? Any questions or anything like that while I'm here? All right, doesn't seem like that. Okay, guys, have a great night. I'll talk to you later.